Next issue with respect to the preparation of mains is unable to understand the thematic approach. What is this thematic approach? Generally, a student start reading from very scratch and then goes till the very end without even understanding that what are the specific areas from which the questions may be there. Another important issue with respect to the mains examination is lack of understanding of PYQs, right? And I would say this is the most important and the most major issue. These previous year's question can be your, we can say, the magical wand for the mains examination. In order to master this particular thing, we are providing the PYQ-Plus Test Series. So hello, good afternoon everyone. I am Vishal Salsekar and I am today going to discuss about the mains related preparation aspect, right? So as just the prelims result has been released and now there has been a lot of issues that I am very sure that you must be encountering with respect to the mains preparation, right? So in this particular session, what we are going to do, that we are going to list out certain kind of issues that you are having and then what kind of solutions that we are going to provide about those specific issues, right? So when it comes to the mains examination, there are multiple issues that as a student or as an aspirant you must be facing. So we'll discuss about those particular issues one by one. So issues with respect to the mains preparation can be divided into multiple aspects. So the first important issue is about a lot of syllabus, right? So lot of syllabus, and when it comes to the mains examination, there are multiple extra things that are incorporated. For example, internal security, for example, disaster management, which we generally tend not to read for the prelims specific aspect until or unless they were there in the current affairs for any specific reason. And then there have been a lot of information overload also. Because in the market, there are multiple kind of material that read this, read that also, and that tend to confuse the students as and when it comes to the mains specific examination. Another important issue with respect to the mains examination is the lack of practice, right? So the practice becomes another most important issue with respect to the mains specific preparation, and we could say the lack of practice, right? So lack of practice, basically the question, the way UPSC is asking the question, the way UPSC is framing those particular statements are very important to decode. Because otherwise what generally happens, that we know something about certain topics and then we tend to write those particular things even without getting to know that UPSC is not asking that thing, UPSC is asking something else about that particular topic. Next issue with respect to the preparation of mains is unable to understand the thematic approach. What is this thematic approach? Generally, a student start reading from very scratch and then goes till the very end without even understanding that what are the specific areas from which the questions may be there. For example, if you are reading any specific topic, let's say it is a topic of society, let's say it is a topic like the secularism. Now, repeatedly UPSC had asked the questions about that particular theme, but when you are reading that particular topic, there will be a discussion from the very basics and a lot of facets will be discussed about that. But when the UPSC will be asking question, there will be political aspects of that same, there will be economic aspects of the same that will be asked in the examination. And if you are not aware regarding the thematic approach in that particular context, it will be difficult to solve that specific question when you are writing that answer. Another important issue with respect to the mains examination is lack of understanding of PYQs, right? And I would say this is the most important and the most major issue that we can get, that if you are not having any kind of idea regarding previously how UPSC had focused upon those particular topics, yes or no? So basically what happens actually, that these are the ready reference for the UPSC mains examination, specifically when it comes to the mains, because what happens that UPSC had asked those particular question on those selective themes. Now how the question was framed, what are the specific things that were asked in those particular question, and what you can expect, that this shows the UPSC's mindset about that particular theme, that in what manner UPSC can in future ask the question about those particular topics. Another issue with respect to mains is the time management. Now basically what happens, that there are 20 questions that you have to answer in the general studies paper. 3 hours for each paper, right? 20 questions, and roughly you have to write around 4,500 words to 5,000 words in your answer booklet. Now to manage this much words, and these are not the random words obviously, so you will be getting a question, then based upon that question you will be framing your approach, and based upon that particular approach now you are going to solve the answer of that particular question. So basically what happens, if you are failing to manage the time adequately, in the very end either you are rushing too much for those particular question, or what you are going to face, that there will be certain incomplete questions at your end. So basically what this particular time management depicts, or we can say the issue is lack of time management, because basically what happens, that if we are writing somewhat more in a few questions where we are having comparatively more understanding, then in those particular situation what happens, that we tend to give lesser focus upon certain other answers or the questions, and in that particular manner we will be losing our marks on those particular questions. And in the UPSC mains examination, each and every mark is very, very important. Why so? Because actually what happens, that you will be also able to see on the similar marks also there are ranks are being decided. For example, if you are having 1000 marks, so 1000 marks may be of 5 candidates, and that will be ranked somewhat like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 like this. So basically when on same marks the ranks are getting differentiated, so basically 1 mark will be going to create a lot of issues. Another thing with respect to mains examination is that we have read a lot of content which we have already seen, but then based upon that particular content, what should be the structuring of answer, what should be the presentation aspects, what are the different aspects with respect to the same question. So there are certain new elements with respect to answer writing we can talk about, which is presentation, structuring. These also makes the answer very, very important and very, very interesting for the examiner, because actually what happens, that when you are writing your answer in a well presented manner, then only examiner will be feeling that yes, he or she is more interested in reading your answer. And at the end of the day, you have to sell your answer. If your answer is looking like, yes, examiner is going to take that particular answer, then only that particular person is going to give you comparatively better marks. So having discussed about the issues, and इसके अलावा भी बहुत सारे और issues है. For example, stress, anxiety, for example, writing speed, for example, language. There may be n number of difficulties when it comes to the mains examination a student basically faces. But out of these issues, I would say one of the most major issue is the lack of understanding of the PYQs. Because see, other than the syllabus, which is defining what is there for the UPSC examination, the most important thing is what actually UPSC had asked. So the previous year's question becomes very, very important when it comes to the mains examination. So these previous year's question can be your, we can say, the magical wand for the mains examination, because PYQs actually gives you an idea about that you have acquired certain kind of knowledge. Now you are putting that particular knowledge into practice. For example, let's say again the topic of secularism. You have read that particular topic. Now you have to apply in the answer. How you are going to apply that particular knowledge? For that, you have to refer to the previous year's question. Now, when it comes to the previous year's question, it's not only that, it also being providing the important aspect in the form of what is going in the mind of examiner. So it talks about the examiner's thought process. That examiner is thinking in certain manner that this particular theme can be repeated again and again if there will be any kind of current context to that particular theme. Another importance of the PYQ is to give you an idea about the high yielding themes. Basically, if there are repeatedly questions asked regarding the topic of secularism, or let's say about the foreign policy of India, or let's say about diplomacy, then there must be certain kind of high yielding themes, and these PYQs are providing us these particular high yielding themes, yes or no? And then again, in the limited time manner, the answer writing. Basically, for the actual examination, you have to practice answer writing in the limited time period, and these PYQs analysis of the previous year's question paper is going to give you a benefit with respect to the writing answers in the time period specifically provided for that particular question. For example, let's say 10 marker question, roughly 7 to 8 minutes, and 15 marker question, let's say 10 to 11 minutes, right? But basically these PYQs can be an avenue in order to ensure that particular thing. But the understanding of these PYQs seems very, very difficult, because when I'm interacting with a lot of students, one difficulty I am able to sense from the student and having discussion with those particular students, that they know that PYQ is important, but how to approach the PYQs, this is one of the most difficult thing that the students are facing issues with. Like, they know that the topic is important, they know that there was a question asked in the previous year, so now how to approach to the previous year's question? So in order to having a clear idea about how to refer to these particular previous year's question, generally what happens, that they are facing difficulty with respect to the PYQ in the form of that either they are referring to in the haphazard manner, that they know that there are PYQs, but they do not know how we have to refer to these PYQs, whether that context that was relevant at that point of time, if there is something going on right now. I am giving you one more example which is going on right now, which is the Israel and the Iran war, right? Is it like for the first time they are fighting? No. There has been a history of the Israel that was involved in a lot of wars, right? Zionist movement has a history, right? So every time whenever there are issues going on, previously it was going on between Israel and Hamas, now it is going on between Israel and Iran. So getting a clear idea about that and getting cue from that is very, very important. Another thing they are finding difficulty with is the identification of the themes. That they are unable to identify the theme, that yes, if that question relevant at that point of time because of some news, this was the theme. Now if the similar kind of themes are going on, then these are the probable questions that may be there. For example, like last month we had seen the Operation Sindoor, right? Aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack. So basically what kind of questions were asked previously, now if there can be any similar kind of questions that may be asked this particular year, we can have the theme identification, and then these particular questions can be probable questions for this year, right? Another thing which everybody is finding difficulty is getting the feedback, right? So feedback of the means previous year's question is very, very difficult. Actually what happens that UPSC does not releases the answer script, and even the copies are not available, right? So whatever we can get from the way the toppers are writing the answer, from that we are able to get that yes, this should be the structuring of this answer. But what about the PYQs? For the PYQs, what at max we can do, we can find out the approach answers. But basically in that also there are a lot of variability and how to get the feedback. Suppose karo, if you are writing that particular answer, for you it is very, very difficult to get an assessment that in which particular portion you are making certain kind of mistake, where you can reduce the language, where you can give a better presentative diagrams, where you can incorporate certain more substantiation or example, what number of words you can reduce, what you can do in order to make your answer further attractive, right? So all these things are being provided when you are in a feedback loop. And this is the difficulty when a student is referring to the PYQ, that student faces, that the student is unable to get certain kind of feedback based upon the PYQs. Right. Apart from that also, whatever issues we have discussed regarding the questions which were there and which are the means related issues, for example, understanding about or going through about the time management, presentation, the syllabus wala theme, all these things are also relevant for the PYQs. Now, having discussed about all these kind of things, what can be done in order to incorporate all these kind of things? Because we do have the issues with respect to the mains examination, there are a lot of things. Then specifically if we talk about the previous year's question, which we can say are the next to the most important source for the understanding of this particular examination. So in order to master this particular thing, we are providing the PYQ-Plus Test Series. So basically what it is going to do, so right now there are difficulty in the answer writing, right now there are difficulty with respect to understanding of the previous year's question. So this particular PYQ-Plus Test Series is going to provide you solution for all these kind of things. So what is this PYQ-Plus Test Series? Here what we are going to provide you, there will be coverage of the previous year's question in the form of the sectional and the full length test. So it will be covered in the form of sectional and full length tests. Now how it will be covered? There will be 8 sectional and 4 full length tests. So what it will be consisting of? So for example, general studies 1 is divided into 2 parts, general studies 2 is divided into 2 parts, GS3 is divided into 2 parts, GS4 is divided into 2 parts, and then it will be the consolidated paper of GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4. So 4 full length test and 8 sectional tests that will be there. Now you may ask like how it is different from the test series that we are already providing. So here comes the difference, that as we are able to sense that the understanding of PYQ and skimming through PYQ is a very important difficulty that most of you are facing. So basically this particular PYQ-Plus Test Series will be based upon the previous year's question. Whatever previous year's question that will be covered in this particular test series, they will be the actual UPSC previous year's question. How that are going to help you? That will give you an idea that what is going on in the examiner's mind even before appearing to that particular paper. Otherwise, what will happen, that you might be referring to the previous year's question in comparatively scattered manner, and that in a sense hinders the lack of create certain kind of lack of motivation at your end to refer to the previous year's question, understanding the theme of this particular thing. So now what it will be consisting of, it will be giving you both the aspects, including the previous year's question arranged in the sectional and the full length manner. And apart from that, there are certain current themes which are very, very important, and those also will be incorporated in those questions. So there will be a few specific questions based upon those particular themes which are there in the current affairs. Let's say the Israel-Iran war, let's say the India's change of the foreign policy, or dealing with the Pakistan aftermath of the Uri attack or the Pulwama attack, how India had changed its response towards Pakistan, or we can say towards the terrorism. So these particular kind of questions will also be incorporated in the PYQ-Plus Test Series. So what it is helping you to get the previous year's question, understanding of the previous year's question, and apart from that, having an understanding about the important themes. The next important benefit that you are going to get is the thematic coverage. what is basically the thematic coverage. In this particular thematic coverage, you will be specifically provided with the important themes. So through the previous year's question, you are already able to get that, yes, these are the themes that are very, very important, maybe for this particular examination also. And duly it will be serving a purpose that it is also going to provide you an idea about what are the important aspects, how UPSC is asking about those particular things. Another issue that we had discussed about the feedback, so there will be a feedback mechanism or feedback loop that will be there. So what it will be consisting of, once you will write these particular tests, there will be a comprehensive evaluation of those particular questions, and then based upon that particular evaluation, the feedback will be provided to you. Once you are getting the feedback, apart from that particular feedback, one more thing that you are going to get is the mentoring, right? So there will be one-to-one mentoring, which is a most important thing as far as the mains preparation is concerned. How? Because once you are writing the answer, there will be a written feedback that you are going to get. But sometimes what happens that we eventually fail to understand that what exactly this examiner is saying. That yes, if the presentative aspects have to be incorporated further, that what all extra I can incorporate in order to make my answer comparatively better. So here the role of the one-to-one mentoring will come into play, and that one-to-one mentoring will make sure that whatever you are able to do or you can do with respect to that particular answer, you will be incorporating in your subsequent attempts. Till here, I hope that things are clear to you. Apart from that, what you are going to get with respect to the PYQ-Plus Test Series, here you are also going to get an awareness regarding the time management. Because the way you are going to attempt these particular questions, they are arranged in the test, both sectional as well as the full length. Now in those sectional as well as the full length test, basically what is going to happen, that there will be a test 3 hours, specifically those particular question will be there. So now in the limited time manner, in the actual UPSC like conditions, you are going to attempt those actual UPSC like questions. So basically when it is simulating the UPSC related aspects, then it is also beneficial for you in order to test yourself beforehand going to the examination. जब आप examination में जाने के पहले you are evaluating yourself with all these kind of things, it is eventually going to benefit you with respect to the examination process. Now apart from that, there will be, once you are going to get the feedback and all, there will be the approach paper. So basically based upon those particular question, there will be approach paper also that will be provided to you. So that particular approach paper will be incorporating the value addition, thematic understanding, a lot of example fact data that can be acting as a value added document for you. Generally we tend to seek a lot of document in the market, but this is going to provide you one short solution for all these kind of inquisitiveness that you might be having with respect to the previous year's question. This is not it. Apart from that also there are a lot of things that we are going to provide you with respect to this particular PYQ-Plus Test Series. So there is also basically the test related discussions. Now again, as you know that once we are writing, once we are getting feedback, now we are curious to know that if suppose karo, if there have to be certain kind of better detailed discussion of that particular thing that can make my task further better, that will be helping to integrate a lot of things. So basically here through the test discussions by the faculties, that particular thing is also going to be important. For example, when we are going to take those particular discussion, we are going to integrate a lot of things. Let's say if there is a question of the general studies 1 or let's say general studies 2, and that demands the different subjects ka interlinkages, so those things will also be provided to you. The facts, data, example, certain kind of new development, there may be certain future questions that can be framed from those particular themes. These are also going to be provided to you in the test discussion. So these particular discussion will be very comprehensive. That will make your task comparatively easy for this examination. And if you are going to appear for this particular PYQ-Plus Test Series with the 8 sectional and 4 full length test, believe me, you will be finding yourself in a very better position in order to attempt the mains examination for this year. Or let's say even if you are not attempting the mains examination for this year, next year without mains, the selection will not be done. Yes or no? So basically in that particular situation also you have to appear for the mains, and hence this will become inevitable for you, because in any way you are going to attempt the previous year's question. So why not through certain kind of testing environment that you can test yourself that what kind of understanding and awareness you are having. Generally maybe in whatever reference material you are reading with respect to the syllabus, what happens that they might be integrating certain kind of PYQs. But then how those questions were framed, what was the thought process, what can be written when you are having limited content about those particular questions, all these kind of thought process will be provided to you in the most detailed manner with respect to this particular test series. Now, apart from this, if you can see that when we had discussed about the issues with respect to the mains examination, when we have talked about the previous year's question and difficulty in attempting, can't you see that all your aspects which difficulty manner mein you were finding with respect to this particular mains preparation are going to get solved from this particular thing. And apart from that, we had discussed about the structuring, presentation, a lot of hand-holding support that can be there with respect to answer writing. All these kind of things you are going to get to know and can avail through this particular PYQ-Plus Test Series, right? So basically this can be a one-shot solution for all the kind of issues that one is facing with respect to referring to the previous year's question. So I am recommending this particular things even if you are attempting for this particular examination, or even if you will be attempting in 26 or maybe 27, referring to this and going through this will be a very important aspect for you. And one beautiful aspect with respect to this test series is the test frequency is also scientifically designed in such a way that you will be having the test at a regular interval, and apart from that also there is a chance that there is some flexibility that is being provided to you. So let's say maybe on a particular day when the test is getting released, there may be certain kind of engagement at your end. So what you can do, you can even postpone for a few days. But I would not recommend you to postpone, right? So basically you can postpone if there is certain kind of emergency, and that kind of flexibility is going to help you so that you will not miss up upon any specific test that is available in this particular test series. So go through the website, and on the video also you will be able to see the details about what all things are there with respect to this particular PYQ-Plus Test Series. And apart from that, if there will be any kind of doubts or difficulty, feel free to reach out to the team regarding the same. I hope that what approach we had discussed with respect to the mains examination and the previous year's question and the solution that we are going to offer you for that particular things are clear to you. And I would like to wish you best of luck for this particular mains examination, or let's say even if you are appearing for the subsequent years, then also very best of luck for this UPSC preparation. Thank you very much.